spend $10,000
Perhaps one of
on.
these days, my dear, you will be old and you will.
But I am already old.
Oh, really?
I'm already old. Okay, I
We
still
don't
wouldn't
reserve-
spend $10,000 to store old stuff, my own old stuff, let alone anybody else's. I think we should be spending that money on stuff on the new fire.
If you don't preserve the old, you have nothing to ever look back on, and history is
Here's what I think is
history.
important on this.
And
As a
that
history
building
major,
is well
I think it's
preserved.
because we have a written record of Suffield's history. It's spending $10,000 to renovate an 80-year-old building and another $50,000 to run a sewage over there. I can't think of a more egregiously poor judgment than put forth that. And honestly, I'm just stunned that anybody would even ask for $10,000 to restore that old fire station, for anything.
Yeah, I'd like to talk about the Historical Society. When it was built, I wasn't a trustee, but I was in charge.
But that was 80
I
years
was
ago.
a member of the Historical Society. I was in charge of electric and plumbing. And I went to Porter Metal and got equipment for the two bathrooms. And they delivered it down and everything, and I asked for an invoice, and we never got an invoice. In the same way with the electrical, all the electrical was not charged. We didn't pay nothing for that.
Then what did you spend $10,000 on?
It
It's
was
easy
for
for
the,
everything else.
they
That
put
place is a
furnace and
mess.
things in.
And if they ever go broke, the township trustees own that building, and they'll take it back. We give them we've got a 20-year lease of $1 a year.
That's
And
right.
the Historical Society is doing a wonderful job in that building.
All right, let's move on. Any other questions? Yep.
What do you, this is for everybody, what do you believe is the proper role for township government? And what do you think are the limitations of township government?
Who do you want to start?
I'm gonna start with Dave.
Basically, the role of the trustee is basically to spend your money, plain and simple. When you elect a trustee, you're giving your faith in that person to do what's right for the township and to move forward. Most of the time, I would say that most townships do a good job of doing that. There's been other townships that have that. Of course, you read about them in the paper when they're hauled off to jail or something. But basically, that is what the township trustees' job is to do, is to take care of just the day-to-day things that happen in your community.
But what's the limitations on it?
Limitations is you can only spend what monies there are for the township to take care of whatever issues there are. Anything is your limitations. It's not like you can embezzle that $2.5 million amount, and your job is to continue on with the day-to-day activities of the township.
Can you overspend?
Basically, your fiscal officer doesn't allow you to overspend. The state auditor will not allow you to overspend either. But if you have a carryover dollar amount, also your state auditor will ask you what you got going on with that money. You either spend it or you lose it.
You can't save it?
You can save it if you have a project scheduled, but you cannot carry over for so long with a certain amount of money.
Really, we can't, so if we have money left every year from our budget, we cannot have a savings account?
If you have a huge amount out there, they're gonna come and go, what are you guys doing? Because they're gonna think we're overtaxing you. Why are we overtaxing you? If we have a huge sum of money out there, they would really question us. Yeah, they would really question.
Who's they?
State.
State auditor?
Tom?
Actually, the responsibilities of the township trustee and the limitations of the township trustee are spelled out in the revised code. And I shortcutted that on my computer so I can check every time I have a question. The township trustee's first responsibility is to maintain the roads, second responsibility is to maintain cemeteries. Those are the two things they have to do by the revised code. If they choose to do anything else, we get back into that, you may do this, but then you shall do it the way we dictate. So if you do choose to have a fire department, then you shall follow all these rules. So those powers are spelled out in the revised code, what you can't or can do. But we also have limitations that go beyond us. The state and the county control a lot of what we do. One of the common requests we get is to change the speed limit. We can't do that, okay? Same way with, one of the reasons, and one of the wise reasons they took that ability to allow drilling away from us is, can you imagine if you had 3 landowners sitting on that board who wanted their property to be drilled, and they could grant each other that right? It's a good thing that those limitations have been imposed on township trustees, because you don't want to introduce any self-serving reason for corruption in this government. Right now, we're just running a business, okay? So those limitations, everything is spelled out, and like I said, the revised code is not an easy book to read, but it does have good search tools in it, so you can, look up if you have a question. I haven't memorized it, I can tell you that.
Okay, as far as the role goes, it's exactly what Tom says. The state of Ohio, the Ohio Revised Code spells out what the duties of the township trustees are. There's this, and you can't, it's just basically Tom's already told us. And there's things you can add on, but you have to do it. You have to follow certain guidelines. So it's laid out by the Ohio Revised Code. And you can go online, ohio.gov, I believe it is, if you want to learn about it, okay? Limitations, the trustees have a lot of limitations. I mean, sometimes the people need to realize that we can't solve all, the trustees can't solve all the problems. I sit in the trustees meetings, and well, anyway, I'm just kind of stunned at the problems that some people bring to the trustees, and they want to solve. One lady called, she's complaining about the mosquitoes, and she wants the township to solve the problem. Well, she can get one of these little bug zappers, but I mean, they can't solve everything. And someone else complained about the property line, about their neighbors and a fence or something. Well, that's still not the trustee's responsibility. If you need to be talking to your neighbor, or get a surveyor, or get a lawyer, but they can't solve everything. And it's just, but it's just, again, their duties are delineated by the Ohio Revised Code, and there's, they can't solve everybody's problem every time, but it's a significant problem. I mean, I would behoove you to go attend a trustees meeting, write it out for them, sign your name to it. Apparently they get letters with no names or anything. Sign it, put your address, and so they can get back to you, okay? My only comment about if the township had more money than it could spend, again, if we had any extra money, I would go to paying off the new fire station so that we're not paying $5 million for a $2.5 million. It was supposed to be a $2.5 million fire station. And also, if there was any excess money, we could use it to lower the levies. So I don't think we ever have to, worry about the state confiscating or talking to us about excess money. We can use it to lower the road levy, ask for less, and ask for less on the fire department levy.
I've done a lot of studying on the ORC of the limitations and the restrictions and the abilities of the trustees. One thing that I'd like to add to that list of things that trustees need to do is communication, not just rely on people coming into our meetings, because as he said, while we average a healthy handful of people, a dozen and a half people, going door to door and campaigning, I'd like to keep that up in the 4 years if I were elected, just because not everybody can make the meetings. Right now, my husband's at work, and he will be at work until 5:30 in the morning. He couldn't attend a meeting at this time at night, so I'd like to touch base with some people like that. As far as restrictions, like they said, we don't sit up here with Band-Aids. We can't fix everything. But the trustees can try, and they can do their best, even if it's just picking up a phone call to see if they can get a little farther, they can get an answer. If you'd like them to call the state rep for you, they have the ability, and they have a little more power in their voice. That's what they're there for.
Well, we go by the book, the Ohio Revised Code. It's the same way with the zoning. We have a book, and the zoning inspector goes by that book. So what I'm saying is we're doing everything we can, but we have to go by the code.
So it doesn't matter who we elect, because y'all have to do the same thing.